Welcome to the Tyler Turner Show, presented by the Sportscast. Today's date, December, January 5th, 2021. If you haven't yet, please subscribe in all our channels on YouTube, Periscope, Apple Podcasts, and if you're on Apple Podcasts, please leave a rating and review. It'll help us out tremendously. Visit us at thesportcast.net. Also, follow us on Twitter at sportscast.one and check out our app, the Sportscast. It is in the iOS App Store. Well, today we are here to talk about that's Big Ten Championship. We're here to talk about the National Championship. The National Championship game is going to be coming up. That college football playoff just happened. And obviously, this has been a crazy season. I wouldn't say this is a season that did I enjoy it? No,
want to remember. If my team wasn't in the finals, I wouldn't want to remember it either.
Yeah. I'll say, so first to introduce my guest that's on the other end, it's Scott Schnabel.
Yes.
He is part of, let's talk about your company a little bit, Mass Custom Lids.
Yeah, we build
custom lids in Centerville, Ohio. So tell me about that.
Yeah, we're just building custom helmets for people. A lot of guys trade replica helmets with some ink on them because they drool over the autograph. We're trying to build authentic helmets to where it looks like it's game ready, to where if it's your favorite team and they played in the Rose Bowl, say Oregon, we build you that chrome helmet with those wings with the little rainbow chrome on it, you know, like they wore in that Rose Bowl. And we just try to build something super authentic so that when you get it and put it on your shelf, it looks like it's a game-worn helmet and it looks like it's your team legit all the way to the last little decal, last little bumper.
How long have you done that for?
Started last January, so 1 year now.
Oh, sweet, man. Well, who's your number one customer base?
Niche market, all diehard Buckeye fans. These guys send me pictures of their basement, and their whole basement is just covered in jerseys and helmets and memorabilia. So not a lot of guys want to pay the top dollar for these helmets because they're pretty expensive, but the guys that do are big collectors.
What is cost for it?
That Wolfpack Flex picture that I sent you, the ones that the Buckeyes wore for 2017 against Penn State, that was $1,200 I sold that one for.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
How many of these do you do roughly in a year?
I got 4 currently going right now. I think in this last year, it was only my first year trying to start up, but I think we probably sold about 30 helmets.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
Oh, nice, man.
And the lowest one's about $650.
And this is kind of like a side gig, right?
Yeah, this is just side cash, second job, one in my spare time, basically, which I have none of with being married with 3 kids and one on the way.
Oh, nice. Congrats, man.
Thank you.
So anyhow, Scott is from Centerville, Ohio, as I said, and like he said, his niche market's Buckeyes. So yes, the reason why I have him on today is we're going to talk Ohio State. We're going to talk Ohio State. I cover on my channel. I cover Big Ten and Pac-12. Pac-12, unfortunately, this season's over. We'll talk about that maybe a little at the end here when Scott might have to go. I'll talk about the Pac-12. They didn't have much of a year to talk about, but the Big Ten actually didn't have much of a year. And when I first started the show, actually neither conference. I started up on this show probably the end of September, beginning of October.
Yeah, we were in the same boat then, weren't we? Both conferences canceled.
Yeah, for some reason, I have a feeling that when I actually started this show up, I believe it was the week that the Big Ten had started back up, and I believe the next week the Pac-12 did. I believe it was that. I believe it was the Monday after. Because I probably would be, what's the reason to do a show if you're not going to have a season?
Right.
Could have been a winter season. There are some ridiculous ideas going out there. But luckily, they were able to get the season going. I personally think, and I've talked about it a lot on my show, most individuals that I've had on, you're the first Big Ten-centric person I've talked to.
Right.
Most people I've had on my show have been actually West Coast. So you're the first Big Ten.
Awesome. Pleasure to come aboard.
Yeah, went West Coast for a while. Now I go to the Midwest, which is good. I live in the Midwest. I'm a Midwest guy. I lived in the left coast for quite a few years, but
now you're in the heart of America.
Yeah, back to my home.
Or the armpit, whichever you want to say.
No, it's where I'm from. But I didn't think either conference. It was really great ball this year, and it's really tough to say that. It was really tough to have a good season in either conference because first of all, COVID season was weird to begin with. Then second of all, of course, the commissioners and the presidents canceled or postponed, and then teams had sent players home, and then several teams actually ended up having several players opt out. I mean, the Pac-12, most of them stayed out. The Big Ten had a little more guys come back in. Yeah, because I think they got going just soon enough. Ohio State had their best guys come back in.
We were happy Wyatt Davis came back, and we were real pumped about Shaun Wade coming back. And then now that we've seen Shaun Wade play this season, man, has his draft stock fell. He's cost himself millions by playing this season. He is so overrated. Yeah, he's a better nickel back than an outside back.
Yeah, really? You think so? Okay, so since we're going to Ohio State, since we're talking specifically about you, so Ohio State 6-0. This is my opinion on Ohio State. I picked Ohio State when I did. So I have a formula. I have a team talent formula that I've created on the Sportscast. Ohio State had the third best roster in college football based upon baseline talent. I thought they had some of the most production on offense coming back in not just the Big Ten, but in the country.
Bama and Clemson at 1 and 2?
No, I had Ohio State 1. I had Ohio State 1. Yeah, so I had Ohio State 1 because I believe that they had the most production coming back on the offensive side of the ball. I thought Clemson was close. Actually, Bama's been better than I thought they were. I should have known, but I thought Bama was maybe going to be more in actually the 4th range. I think my preseason rankings, I think I had Ohio State 1, Clemson 2, 3 Georgia. I think Georgia was 3, but then they had Jamie Newman opt out. At that time, Jamie Newman was supposed to play, and that was obviously a big loss for them. And then I had Alabama 4, but Alabama ends up being number 1 and probably had the best overall regular season. Ohio State, obviously, when the season got canceled, I think it was Ohio State more than anyone else called in the Big Ten and Pac-12 that people were like,
we need football.
well, because we're like, Ohio State's the one team that, like I said, they were my preseason number 1. So that was the one team that you're like, man, you just canceled the season of a playoff team.
Right.
So when they came back, they really got the benefit of the doubt, and I think they should have.
Yeah.
Now, to be honest with you, I don't think Ohio State was very good during the regular season.
Right, they were average.
They looked as if they had started late. They looked as if they had several games canceled. Yep, several games canceled with COVID. And if they weren't Ohio State, and if they didn't have the preseason buzz that they were getting,
right,
I don't think Ohio State would have gotten in the playoffs.
If they didn't have that name brand, they would not have gotten in.
I don't think it was just a name brand. I think it was the fact that you guys had Justin Fields, the fact that you have the third best roster in college football, the fact that you were last year. I mean, it was the top 3 teams. Yeah. It was LSU, Ohio State, and Clemson, and I think Ohio State was better than Clemson.
I think we should have won that game, and I think we would have lost to LSU in the finals, but we should have beat Clemson last year for sure. You never know what would happen in the finals, but
yeah. If anyone was going to beat LSU, it was going to be LSU. It was going to be Ohio State because you had Chase Young. You had Chase Young on the outside. You had the best corner, and Shaun Wade was great as a nickel.
Right.
You had Harrison, who was one of the better linebackers in college football. You had that. Who was the kid that ended up going to the Raiders in the
Arnett.
17th? So you had Arnett. So you had Arnett at one corner, you had Akudo at another, you had Shaun Wade, and then you had a good linebacker, and you had one of the best, most elite. You had the hands down the most elite pass rusher in college football.
We had a real underrated safety too in Fuller, who's been playing real well for the Rams this season.
Yeah, so if you had the best defensive backfield in college football, and you had the best edge rusher, if someone was going to slow down Joe Burrow, it was going to be Ohio State.
Right.
Now, I think Burrow would have gotten his points, and the question was, would Justin Fields be a little better than he was against Clemson? He was injured; he wasn't able to move around quite as well. I think that's why he lost to Clemson.
Right.
Honestly, I think
Dobbins' ankle injury was huge against Clemson. He was ripping Clemson apart until they hurt his ankle, and I think Clemson plays a little bit dirty now and then because that Dobbins, they twisted his ankle, twerked his ankle. You saw the Christian Wilkins before with a little butt finger on the ground, and Just all sorts of stuff. Guys get thrown out for targeting every year.
Yeah.
Somewhat of a borderline dirty team.
Yeah.
But I respect them.
But I don't think. I think the reason why you lost was because, from my perspective, the reason why you lost was you made some bad mistakes. But also, I just didn't think Justin Fields with his knee injury was effective as a runner.
Right.
I mean, you see how effective he is. Well, hopefully that injury. Hopefully he's fine from that. He got hit again.
That was a dirty hit.
You thought so?
Yeah, crown of the helmet, 100%. If that's not targeting, then there's no targeting rule in college football if that's not targeting. My buddy at work today was trying to say he put his head to the side, and I showed him a still frame photo of it, and I was like, tell me that head's to the side. And he's like, it's not to the side. I was like, that's right, buddy. I was like, I played hockey. The hockey won't even let you do that. Hockey lets you get away with a lot more than football, and you can't even hit people in hockey like that.
I'll give it to you. I'll give it to you. I personally, I play ball. I played at Liberty. I played at Liberty out in the East Coast. Hey, they beat Coastal Carolina in their bowl game.
Right, I saw that.
But I was a defensive guy, so to me,
you're borderline lean towards defense. I'm hockey, so most big hits, I'm just like, yeah, it was a good hit. Take that, be a man.
Yeah.
But when I saw that crown of the helmet like that, I was like, wow, like that was like almost like he speared him.
It was. He got. How bad is the injury supposed to be for Fields?
He got a couple cortisone shots at halftime, and they have not updated on the injury. But Ryan Day said that he will definitely play. So now we're just going to see how mobile he is and how much of a threat he will be to Alabama, and how honest he can keep the defense when he runs.
Man, because like I said, I think that's why they lost last year to Clemson. He just couldn't run.
The red zone last year killed us 0 for 4 in the red zone versus Clemson.
And you know what? I guarantee you, if he had the mobility, you would have been 0 for 4. He could have got a couple in. And
Dobbins touchdown where they called it a fumble when he went across the goal line. They said, he didn't possess it through the ground. I mean, there was a couple calls in that Clemson game last year that was like, wow, like we shouldn't have been 0 for 4 in the red zone, but we were.
Yeah.
I think that really lost it. You can't get in the red zone and just kick field goals and miss opportunities. You got to score touchdowns.
Yeah, it was too bad because I really do think that was the better game against LSU. I knew Clemson was gonna. I just didn't think Clemson had the
get
guys.
Boat raced. Yeah,
and they get boat raced. That's a good way to put it. So against Alabama, you're playing. Alabama obviously has had a terrific season. I believe off the top of my head they're 12-0. Did they get 12 games in, or did they get 11 games?
I think they got 11. I'm not sure. It might be 12 to playoff.
So they're 11, 12-0. They didn't have a close game all season. Their closest game was against Florida.
Right.
But they were ahead the entire game.
Right.
What do you think about the matchup?
I think there's a lot of parallels to 2014 when everybody said that there's no way we can beat Bama, and they got Derrick Henry and they have Amari Cooper. Well, now they have Devontae Smith and Najee Harris, and we can't beat them again. Same as 2014. And they're two different teams, but there's a lot of parallels between this year and that year. I think the difference right now for Alabama is Mac Jones is a much better quarterback than they had in 2014. I don't remember the quarterback's name in 2014. That's how bad he was.
I believe it was Sims.
It might have been, yeah.
Jeff Sims,
Jeff Sims or Blake, yes.
Blake Sims.
Blake Sims. I couldn't remember his name. That's how bad he was. Mac Jones is a lot better than he is. So that's the factor I think that'll be a little different. I think in the Notre Dame game, I think their O-line pushed Alabama around before the score got to where Notre Dame had to abandon the run game. When they were running the ball, and I was watching, I admit in the second quarter, I just decided to take a nap before the Buckeye game because I just knew the Irish was going to get throttled by the end of the game. But at the beginning of the game, that Notre Dame O-line was pushing Alabama's D-line around pretty good. And I was like, this bodes real well for the Ohio State offensive line.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about some matchups. What I like, I'm going to say what I like for both teams and what I dislike, and you can agree or disagree. I like, so for Alabama on offense has guys. I mean,
right.
Whether it be Devontae Smith, I've heard Jalen Waddle might be back.
Right. Waddle was seen at practice and he could be available. That's bad because I feel like Sevyn Banks might be able to cover Devontae Smith for the most part, but I feel like Sean Wade's been a weakness on the outside. And if you have, Devontae Smith and Jalen Waddle back, who covers which one? You've got Sevyn Banks on one of them, and who covers the other guy? That's not a good matchup for Ohio State. And our safeties right now, we had Marcus Hooker, who was a great cleanup guy, little brother of Malik Hooker, the Indianapolis star that's been injured. He's been a great cleanup guy and real underrated, I think, and made a lot of hard tackles, made a lot of pass breakups. He's been hurt the last few games. We've been playing Josh Proctor, Josh Proctor is an absolute liability. His pursuit angles, his tackling, it's just horrible. He's a liability back there. So we really hope that Marcus Hooker's back for that game.
Is Proctor a freshman?
I think he's a sophomore. He's the one that laid that real big hit on the Wisconsin quarterback at the end of the Big Ten championship, like last year or whatever, with that on the sideline, that big hit where Brutus covered his eyes. It was all over. It went viral, the video. He laid a big hit on the quarterback, but his pursuit angles coming up as a safety in the run game, they've been bad all year. And I mean, anytime he's in, it's like, wow, like I could play safety better than that.
Well, I think part of the problem has been when it comes to defense in general. What I saw in the Pac-12 and the Big Ten, I think just the late start. I saw it more than anything was, well, first of all, you didn't have spring ball. Second of all, you had the late start, the shorter camps. Yeah. I thought defensively teams have not looked very sharp.
Right, the communication, the tackling, it's just not as good this year.
Just not as good as tackling, not as good as communications. The back ends of defense is like you said, like the defensive backfields have just not looked as strong. What I liked about Ohio State the last game, so I would have said I wasn't that impressed with your defensive line through most of the season.
Last game they were on fire, weren't they?
Tyreek Smith, Cooper, I believe Zach Harrison is getting around there. You got Haskell Garrett.
That's a crazy story, isn't it? You know his story?
Yeah, shot. Tommy Togiai was very good. And so I just thought overall your defensive line played very well. Yeah. I thought that your defensive line played well. I thought your back end played well enough.
Right.
I mean, they made some plays back there, but your back end was not bad. And then
Sevyn Banks has been good at getting around and knocking the ball down and not getting pass interferences. If you've noticed, he's been on his man, but he's able to reach around and bat the ball down without getting a pass interference. And I like that.
And he's the corner opposite to Wade, right?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. And then obviously your run game on offense has been
Trey Sermon. Wow.
Trey Sermon's been spectacular.
He transferred from Oklahoma. Yeah, and I was hype about that. I tried to look his highlights up, and I realized he was injured the year prior. And I was like, okay, let's go back another year. And I looked at his highlights up from that year, and I was like, wow, this guy's kind of a monster. I'm expecting big things from him. And then as the season started, like you said, with the COVID and the no rhythm, there wasn't much going. And I thought, man, going from Beanie Wells to Carlos Hyde to Zeke Elliott to J.K. Dobbins to Trey Sermon and whoever we have now, I thought we're going to have a good rush game. And I watched the beginning of the season, and I thought this is probably the worst rushing attack we've had in years. But now that he's learned the offense a little bit, and they've got a little bit of rhythm, he looks like a monster. 524 yards in the last two games.
Last two games, yeah.
Best in a two-game span in OSU history.
Really? And that's like you said, you've had some of the best running backs ever in college football. I think Eddie George.
Right. Ridiculous.
Can't get much better than Ohio State.
Keith Byers.
Yeah. And then the guy who won the two Heismans in a row. Can't think of his name offhand.
Archie Griffin.
There you go. So and then on the outside you have some of the best. I think from a baseline perspective, I actually think Ohio State is the best wide receiver group in the country. Now you're not playing a lot of your best wide receivers. Well, to take it back. You're playing some very good wide receivers. I'm just saying you have some really highly
on the
rated.
bench.
You have Julian Fleming, who was the number one wide receiver in the country.
Smith and Jigba only gets a few snaps a game. He's a highly recruited receiver. G. Scott Jr. Oh yeah, I'm glad you know who that is.
Dude, I know everyone.
I love me some G. Scott. I tell my brother every weekend, why have we not seen G. Scott in the game yet?
Now, you had Mookie Cooper. He would hit the portal, didn't he?
I think so.
Yeah,
I think so.
So Cooper hit the portal. Is Cameron Babb playing at all? Has he gotten any play at all?
He hasn't gotten any playing time yet.
Okay, so
I think we're so loaded at wide receiver. They're just so deep that wide receiver room is it's hard to get any playing time.
That's crazy because Babb was the man coming out. He was one of the top performers at the Elite 11 back in 2018.
Ruckert had 2 touchdowns against Clemson, the tight end. Kind of breaks the stigma that OSU doesn't use their tight ends. And Ruckert was the Gatorade Player of the Year in high school coming out of New York. So we have a highly recruited tight end that nobody knows about.
Number 1 rated tight end. Your other tight end's not bad guy either.
Yeah, he's 6'6", the other one. Yeah. It's a big body.
And then you got Chris Olave. He's one of the best receivers in the country. You have
so silky smooth.
Garrett Wilson, who was the top-rated wide receiver coming out. You have Jameson Williams, who was a 10-5 track guy.
He caught a deep ball against Clemson. That was nice. I was like, who is that? And I was like, oh, they put Williams in. He doesn't get many play.
He had have been a little bit. I knew that actually because he was a top recruit for Oregon coming out of high school.
Okay.
He actually, yeah. So, but Williams said he can fly, but he does drop the ball a little bit.
Yeah.
He's a little bit
inconsistent. He's a burner, but his hands are inconsistent.
But he can fly. But I mean, Chris Olave, I think I've always loved Chris Olave.
Yeah, he's good.
He was a
you know the story on how Ohio State got him? You probably do because he's from the West Coast.
For sure. He's a 3-star kid out of San Bernardino, California.
And they went to recruit another player. They weren't even recruiting Olave, and they saw Olave at practice, and they said, I got to have this guy. This guy's good. Who is this?
Was going to go to UCLA. He was about ready to commit to UCLA, and then Ohio State all of a sudden went hard on him. Yep. And I remember following his recruitment. It was like UCLA has him. That was and what a pickup that would have been for UCLA. And then all of a sudden, Ohio State started trending in the crystal ball, a feature by 247 Sports, and all of a sudden, there goes Chris Olave to Ohio State, and he's been fun. He's been phenomenal.
I love me some Garrett Wilson. At the beginning of the year, Garrett Wilson was Mr. Mover of chains. In that Clemson game, that Fields threw that deep ball to him at the beginning on third down, and he looked over his right shoulder, and it went over his left shoulder. And instead of trying to look over his left shoulder and re-find the ball, he just kind of fell backwards and caught it. I told my wife, I was like, that's a much harder catch than that boy just made that look like.
Yeah. So a good matchup is going to be now. I love Alabama's defensive backfield.
Surtain, he's awesome.
He's one of the best quarterbacks in college.
His dad was in the NFL, if you remember.
Yeah, for sure. Top 10 pick will be Surtain. You got Josh Joby, who's a big time guy. You have Jordan Battle is one of the best, I think, safeties.
And in that 14 game, they had Landon Collins, and there's a lot of parallels to these two games. Remember, Landon Collins was their safety in 14.
Now, I think Alabama, this is my opinion, I think Alabama's much better.
Yeah.
I think this Alabama team is much better than that 14.
The 14 team.
Yeah, I think the 14 team had a really good defense, but the 14 team does not have it. The 14 team had Amari Cooper, but this is Devontae Smith, this is Najee Harris, this is
Waddle to get him back.
I mean, guys like Menchie. You got so many guys that they're able to utilize, and you have Steve Sarkisian call into plays. They did have Lane Kiffin, but the bigger thing is you have Mac Jones, who's just a much better quarterback.
Way better than Sims. Yeah. Saban said before the year, he said in college football, with the evolution of the game, he said it's almost impossible to stop anybody anymore. You just have to outscore the other team. So you see now Alabama's really ramped it up on offense. They're not the defensive squad they used to be. They're more worried about offense now. And Saban alluded to that before the season. He said you can't stop anybody anymore. And that came after that Clemson spanking.
Now, I told this to my buddy. He's the other contributor, Justin Riley. He's probably listening right now on the Sportscast. He's a Bama guy, Alabama graduate. He does a completely Bama-centric podcast. Alabama has a good defense.
Oh, yeah. My cousin is on the brochure of the Alabama program and gives the incoming football players tours. She's in a sorority there.
But I'm gonna make a misnomer right now. They say that Alabama does not have a good defense this year. That's not true.
Right.
They have the number 5 most efficient defense according to team efficiency. I think they're the number 6 defense according to the SP Plus by Bill Connolly. They have guys like Tim Anderson. I can't. Some names escape me right now. They have guys that can get after the quarterback. They have like elite defensive backs.
They've always got a defense full of NFL draft picks every year.
So you hear the kind of spiel out there. It's like Alabama's defense is not good this year. That's false.
That's
not true. That's false. That's false.
I know that.
I would take Alabama's defense over Ohio State's.
Yeah.
Even though you guys looked good the other day.
I was going to say, against Clemson, I don't know who you'd take. But during the year, the eye test, we did not pass the eye test during the regular season.
You guys look terrible. In my opinion, you did not look good against Indiana. You almost lost the game. I didn't think
Northwestern didn't look good.
I didn't think
we were losing 10-6 at halftime against Northwestern.
Well, your offense didn't look good against Northwestern. Your defense actually looked good.
It was okay.
Yeah. Penn State, you gave up some plays, especially in the pass game.
Right. I think Fitzgerald has a decent squad and underrated. Pat Fitzgerald's an underrated coach, and Northwestern's really underrated. Everybody's like, you should have blown Northwestern out. I was like, their defense is better than you think it is.
What happened this year with the Big Ten was you saw the teams that were very well coached. Pat Fitzgerald, Northwestern, Kirk Ferentz in Iowa.
They adapted and overcame.
And Tom Allen in Indiana. They were able to utilize kind of this season to their advantage. Where you saw the more talented teams, but the more combustible teams that had guys go opt out, that had guys head to the draft and stuff.
Right.
Michigan, Penn State, Wisconsin, they weren't as good this year. So actually,
I think Parsons is the best linebacker in the nation, and he opted out for Penn State.
Yeah, Freiermuth he opted out, and then he opted back in, and then he opted back out.
He's a monster.
Minnesota was not as good, and they were pretty good the year. So, like, other than Ohio State, all the other kind of top 25, the perennial top 25, the Penn State, they weren't very good this year.
No.
So that who took advantage of that? Northwestern, Iowa, and Indiana. And so that was kind of the Big Ten season. At least you guys had that. The Pac-12, no one looked good.
Right.
They did have one good team.
They did.
Oregon won the Pac-12, but no one. I mean, trust me.
Wasn't it by default because Arizona State couldn't play in the game or something like that because of COVID?
No,
my buddy's a big Oregon fan, and he was telling me, he's like, Oregon gets to go now, and he was all excited. I was like, how's that?
Well, okay. Well, it's Washington. And to be honest with you, that's a little bit of a false narrative because Washington and Oregon were going to play, and the winner was going to go to the North.
And they COVID canceled it.
And COVID canceled Washington. Gotcha. So then Washington was declared the winner, even though they were going to play for the North.
Right.
And so then Washington couldn't play in the championship either. So it really wasn't.
What a weird season.
No, it was stupid. And then USC, I guess, was the highest rated team for most of the year, but they weren't any good.
They're not that good now.
No.
They got a couple of good players every year. Like I'll take a receiver from them. I'll take a D lineman from them or an offensive tackle from them. But it's a complete team. They're not that good.
It's not about the talent. It's just the fact that they're not very well coached.
Right.
I think they have one of the most diminutive coaches in college football. So it's kind of unfortunate because not unfortunate. I can't say personally on a personal level. I shouldn't probably say it's on my show, but I'm not a huge USC fan. But that being said, USC is one of the most storied programs. They have probably more national titles than pretty much anyone other than Alabama.
About 10 years ago, that Oregon USC every year was a great matchup. I looked forward to staying up late and watching those games when Oregon first had Chip Kelly and they were playing USC and they were always playing for the Pac-12 championship. I was like, this is a good game when Oregon plays USC. I like this.
Honestly, up until a decade ago, it was USC and everyone else. And then Oregon, Chip Kelly came along, and then Oregon kind of became, now it's been Oregon's been the better
king
team.
of the West for the most part of the last decade.
Yeah, Washington had some good teams, decent teams, but for the most part, it's been Oregon.
And they lost their coach. I really liked Chris Ash, or was that his name, Chris Ash?
No, Chris Peterson.
I really liked him, and Ash was a Buckeye coach. Yeah,
and he went to Texas, didn't he?
I think he did. He went somewhere.
With Tom Herman.
Herman went to Texas. I can't remember where Ash went.
No,
did he follow him there?
Yeah, he did. And he got fired.
Okay.
And, he's probably fired with Herman. Unless Sarkisian decides to keep him. But so back to the game. So not to get off track a little bit. So are you picking Ohio State?
I am. I didn't feel that great going into the Clemson game because I was like, man, we haven't really shown any rhythm yet. We haven't shown, like what we can do yet. I know the talent's there. Like you said, the roster, the talent's great. But we haven't really put it together yet. And I chalked it up to COVID, no rhythm. And everybody's saying, well, you've only played 6 games. You're more fresh than Clemson. And I thought these are 18 to 21-year-old athletes in the best shape of their lives. It's not about being fresh. And actually, I thought Clemson had the advantage because they had more games to establish a rhythm and get more of the communication and get in the groove of things. Ohio State kept stalling and the wheels kept spinning in the mud. Games getting canceled left and right. Then you couldn't practice one week and different stuff. And so I just thought, I was like, Clemson has the advantage playing more games than we do.
Yeah, I agree. I actually
might be an unpopular opinion with some, but
no. I when people were saying about being fresher, I'm like, nah. I think it's more about game reps. I thought game reps are more important. I thought I gave Clemson an advantage. Now, as it turned out, actually, to be honest with you guys did look fresher.
We did. It might have just been the O-line pushing them around because long gone are the days of Clellan Farrell and Dexter Lawrence and Christian Wilkins. They don't have those guys anymore. Clemson's D-line looked small in that game, and they just got pushed around and just bullied.
Well, so Clemson in 2 years those defensive linemen are all 5 stars. Brian Brazy, Miles Murphy. I can't remember the other couple.
Are they just young?
They're
just
freshmen.
young guys. Gotcha.
Freshmen. And
so they'll be studs in 2 years.
Yeah, what? Wyatt Davis. You had Myers. You have Duane
Thayer Munford. That guy is a giant. And they were talking about when he gives his hands on you to block you, it feels like he's punching you. Every time he puts his hands on you, it just feels like someone's punching you.
And is Paris Johnson playing yet?
He is, and Willie Anderson, the great Bengal legend from where I'm from, I'm a lowly Bengals fan too. Willie Anderson kind of took Paris Johnson under his wing and kind of made him his protege a little bit, and he was proud of him when he played. So Jones gets hurt after Harry Miller gets ruled out for COVID, and then Paris Johnson comes in, third stringer at left guard. Willie Anderson shared an Instagram video of them training in the offseason and about Paris Johnson getting his hands up under the guy's shoulder pads and up under his belly and lifting the guy off his feet and driving him backwards as opposed to putting his hands up. He was getting him up under. And he showed a training video, and then he showed it in the game, and Paris Johnson drove that Clemson guy back about 8 yards, slams him on his back, and as soon as he hits the ground, you hear Big Willie Anderson go, pancake.
Well, Paris Johnson was I think he was the #1 rated offensive tackle coming out.
Very highly recruited, yeah. They said that he was pretty much a bust until he started training with Willie Anderson.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they didn't. He wasn't amounting to much. He came out real highly recruited, but he couldn't get a start and couldn't get it on the line. And then he traded him with Willie Anderson. Willie Anderson kind of took a little pride as his protege, took him under his wing. And then when he finally got his playing time against Clemson, after he was the third stringer basically in there, then Willie Anderson highlighted a couple of his reels and was like, "That's my training right there." He's like, "Those pancakes are me."
Nice. Now is what's the guy with the French name?
Nicole Petit Ferrier, whatever his name is. Nicholas Petit Ferrier. He's decent. He's decent, yeah. I think so, unless he's hurt. He should have been playing.
He was a big-time guy coming out of high school, too.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you guys have so many big-time guys. It's crazy.
Right.
I'm trying to think of – I actually did not mind that backup running back. I think he was a 3-star kid out of Cincinnati.
Mayon Williams.
Yeah.
He's good. He's good. Who I really liked that's hurt is Marcus Crowley, was the Florida Player of the Year. He hurt his knee and hasn't played all season. He hurt his knee at the end of last year.
And I'm assuming Teague's hurt, Master Teague.
Teague was in concussion protocol, so I think he'll be back for the Bama game.
Okay,
he was in concussion protocol versus Northwestern. But right now, Trey Sermon just on fire right now. I mean, that championship weekend, he had 331 yards against Northwestern. He had 196 yards after contact. Najee Harris had 178 yards. Travis Etienne had 124 yards during championship weekend. So Sermon had more yards after contact than those guys had yards altogether.
And how many yards did he have against Clemson?
He had, versus Clemson, let's see, he had 193 and 61 yards receiving with a touchdown. So he was over 200 yards again.
Oh, my goodness. And
he's been a monster. Once he learned the offense and kind of settled in, I was like, these are the highlight reels I was seeing when I looked him up on Oklahoma. This is what I was excited for. But at the beginning of the season, like you said, with COVID and no rhythm, I was like, this has to be the worst rushing attack Ohio State's had in a decade. And then now they've come alive. His breakout game was against Michigan State. He had 10 carries for like 112 yards. He was averaging 11.2.
Your offensive line, though.
Yeah. We call them the slobs here. I don't know if you know that. From 14, they were dubbed the slobs. The offensive line refers to themselves as the slobs, and they take pride in being slobs that knock people around.
Oh, my goodness. You guys are like the Northwestern game, you're opening embarrassing holes. But even against Clemson, you were – that
shocked me a little bit. Going against Clemson the last couple of years and seeing their defense – seeing those holes open up on the New Year's Day, I was like, wow. I was like, if we can keep doing this, and then when we did, and I was like, this is great. I was like, I can't believe we're running all over them like this.
That was it. I picked Ohio State to win it all. So I did. So I picked them to win it all. So I wasn't surprised they won. I was surprised that they won so easily.
In that fashion, yeah.
I thought it was going to be, 35-28, like 35-31. I did not expect them to basically blow the door. I mean, it was a 28-point lead in the third quarter.
They got that garbage time touchdown to even make it 3 touchdowns. But, we had a 4-touchdown lead against them. And Sunshine is not used to getting knocked around like that. He is not used to all those guys flying around and grabbing him. we refer to him as Sunshine here in Ohio.
That's fine.
He's not used to that, though. He's not used to getting knocked around. He's not used to getting hands on him like that.
No, I have a question. Who do you think's the number one? No, okay. No, answer this objectively. Don't give me some like
Lawrence, number 1 draft pick, Lawrence.
Oh, okay.
Because you got to think Urban Meyer is going to take that Jacksonville Jaguars job. He wants Lawrence, and he was at that game versus Ohio State and Clemson. And I told the wife, I was like, Urban Meyer's up there sitting by himself. He must be watching Ohio State. And then I saw the news he's taking the Jags job, and I was like, he's out there scouting for draft picks.
So you think he takes the Jags job?
I think he'll take Lawrence. Yeah, Lawrence just with the build, the height, and just the arm. I think he'll take him. Oh, yeah, I think he'll take the job.
You think so?
Yeah, it just came out he's seeking $12 million a year from the Jags. So as long as they agree to it, he'll take the job. Plus, Shelley loves Florida. Shelley wants to go back to Florida.
That's not that bad. $12 million.
No. Not for a prestigious coach.
Does he live in Columbus or does he live out in LA?
He's got a house in Columbus. I'm sure he's got a couple houses, but he's got a house in Columbus. And then they did live in Florida when he's coaching Florida. And I really think Shelley wants to go back to Florida. So I think the Chargers fired Anthony Lynn, and the Chargers were interested in Urban Meyer too. And you got sunshine and palm trees there too. But I think Shelley wants to be in Florida.
I'm not Herbert, so I just actually before my podcast does not talk about this, but I want Herbert to get a really good offense. I wouldn't actually want him to get Meyer. I'd prefer him to get a Brian Dable, a Eric Bieniemy, maybe who's another guy.
My Bengals are hoping they hire Eric Bieniemy, and now Mike Brown's coming out saying he's bullish with Zach Taylor. He's going to stick with Zach Taylor, and we're all like, oh, no, not Zach. I mean, Zach Taylor's not the worst, but he's too young.
To be fair, though, man, he was stuck with a bad hand these first 2 years.
He was. But they were talking about if you're in the NFL or like even when you have a bad roster, like you got to find ways to win games. And when he keeps losing games by 6 points or less, they were like, that's coaching. And I was like, to a degree, it is, but to a degree, it's also the roster.
Wasn't he Nebraska's quarterback?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yep.
like about a decade ago, right?
Yep. Which Ohio State's loving Nebraska because those are the two teams that really fought to get the Big Ten back in motion and had those lawsuits and the petitions. And Nebraska and Ohio State fans were outside the Big Ten headquarters in Illinois and protesting.
You love them so much you beat them by like 29.
Yeah. My dad's from Omaha, so he's like, I can't watch this anymore. I was like, this is an old fashioned beatdown right here.
I was a childhood Nebraska fan. That was actually my team.
They were awesome back in the day. Tommy Frazier, man, I watched some of those games as a kid, and I was like, these boys are good. And that defense was so hard hitting.
But my goodness, have they fallen on tough times.
That's true.
And I feel bad because I think I keep on wanting Scott Frost to turn it around, but it's not happening right now.
And that fan base is so loyal and passionate. It'd be good if they were on the map again and they were a relevant team again, just for the fans. The fans are good fans.
Yeah, they are.
As much as I hate the Browns, being a Bengals fan, the Browns have real loyal fans. So, they got in the playoffs and everybody was cheering about it. And I was like, you know what? I was like, congratulations, Browns, whatever. I mean, I don't like you guys, but you guys got a good fan base.
Who are they playing?
They will play the Steelers week in the first playoff round. And then if they get through the Steelers, they play at the Chiefs. They're not going to go anywhere. At least they made the playoffs, but you got to get through the Steelers, which is the big brother of the division, which they hardly ever beat. I know they beat them this Sunday, but I mean, the Steelers were playing their backups. And then if you do get through the Steelers, you go play Patty Mahomes and the Chiefs, where you'll get throttled.
You get throttled. I think it's if I had to pick, we're going into random each other's here, but if I had to pick an AFC, it would be Bills versus Kansas City.
And then Packers, you think?
Well, I'm a Packer fan.
On the NFC? Okay, so Packers versus who?
Oh, yeah. So, of course, I'm going Packers. I would go Packers versus – that's a good question.
Yeah, see, I was saying the same thing.
Tampa?
Bills, Chiefs,
Tampa?
but might be.
Tampa. I'd say
Did you see Chase Young just tweeted out to Tom Brady, said, I'm coming for you.
Oh, he did.
Yeah.
Washington stinks. That's like the worst
they do.
playoff team.
Their defense is good, but they have no offense.
No,
and their defense just started getting good at the end of the year. If you notice, they just started coming together and gelling a little bit. And they named Chase Young a captain, rookie captain. That's pretty.
Speaking
impressive.
of that, Dwayne Haskins in the NFL.
He is just immature and just not very good. He should have stuck around. He played one season for the Ohio State, and then he set a couple of passing records, and then he left.
Beat out Joe Burrow.
Right.
Wow, that's crazy. But man, in the NFL, he's been terrible.
Burrow actually admits that he was not that good at Ohio State and that Haskins was better than him at Ohio State. And I was like, that's a weird statement to make. But he said that he got better and that he said the combination of getting coached under Urban and Ryan Day, and then moving to the LSU coaching staff and having both coaching staffs, he said made him a great, player, made him so much better.
Because if you think about Burrow, his first year at LSU was not that good.
No, it was average.
He was okay. I mean, he was fun. He came into the year, I saw he was projected to be a 6th-round draft pick. And
That's
then
crazy.
He just had the most ridiculous year. I'm telling you, though, when I fought, because I did a lot of the draft stuff. I'm a big draft guy. I think you are too.
We're gonna do that in April, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. We have to do that.
I'm already mock drafting for the Bengals. I got Wyatt Davis in the first round, trading back.
So you're getting all Ohio State. Where are you guys drafting?
I tried to take Sewell at 5. I was trying to take Sewell from Oregon, but he was gone before 5. So I was like, well, if I can't get Sewell, trade back and take the guy I want anyways. So I traded back from 5 to 9, took Wyatt Davis, took Olave in the second round. I took 2 black guys.
Don't you guys need a tackle?
We do. But I figured you come back a tackle in the 3rd round or something if you want to, or 2nd round.
Why not Leatherwood?
There's a Rashawn Slater out of Northwestern is the 2nd highest rated tackle behind Sewell. Yeah. So my brother in the mock drafts, he's traded back from 5 all the way to 21 and still taking Slater in the 1st round.
Oh, okay, that's smart.
So,
I haven't gotten into mocks, but I'm telling you, when every team now, I don't know if Cincinnati's gonna maybe because Burrow, if he can come back healthy,
right? He is special.
Justin Herbert this year.
Herbert was my preseason overall number 1 pick. So before the season started, I wanted the Bengals to draft Herbert. And I told my brother, I was like, Justin Herbert. Then when we saw the playoffs go out, we saw the season go on, I was like, we'll take Burrow. We'll take him.
Herbert was ridiculous. He was good this year.
Just his frame, too. Just his size. And he's just got that NFL quarterback frame. Yeah.
And the problem with Oregon at the time was they just didn't really have – first of all, he played with 3 different head coaches. Second of all, the system that they were playing, that they inputted there after Helfrich left,
didn't benefit him.
No, it was not. It was not a system. Honestly, he grew up in Eugene. He grew up a mile from the stadium. But if I were like Justin Herbert's mentor, I would be like, dude, get out of Dodge. Go somewhere else that's going to utilize what you do.
Yeah, put you in a pro system that takes care of your big arm.
Yeah,
because I think what were they doing with him at the beginning? Just a bunch of bubble screens and read options. Like that doesn't benefit his giant arm.
It was ridiculous, and I think some stuff got to him mentally, and he felt kind of like the pressure, and he didn't play as good as he didn't look like he did in the NFL. I mean, if the NFL Justin Herbert would have played at Oregon would have made the playoff. Right, and Oregon probably would have been. They almost had the playoff anyway, but I
think he looked real good against Wisconsin in that Rose Bowl. He looked pretty good.
I didn't even think he looked that great that game.
You didn't?
He ran, but look at
he ran more than he threw. It seemed like.
How much did you watch him play this year?
Not a lot. Not for the Chargers. I don't get a lot of West Coast games out here, of course, unless I have the Super Bowl Sunday ticket. We don't get any of those games on TV. They show the Browns, Steelers, Lions, Bengals.
Oh, do you not?
I get all the worst games.
Do you have NFL Red Zone?
My parents do. I don't have it here.
Oh, you know?
They have it. They have it on Dish Network. I don't have it here though.
Oh, I have Red Zone, so I see all the games.
Okay, heard that.
So I literally. It doesn't matter where the game is. I'm like
the Sunday ticket's not exclusive to DirecTV anymore after this season. So next season, the Sunday ticket will be cheap again. So now any cable company can carry it. Whereas before, it was exclusive to DirecTV, and they had a contract where you could only get it through DirecTV, and that's why they charge so much for it. That's why you had to pay $500 for it. Now they said that the other place, it was like $500 a season. My brother bought it. This upcoming season will be the first year that DirecTV is not exclusive to the package. So now other cable companies will carry it probably about half price. You probably pay like $250, $200.
That's not bad.
Yeah, for any game you want all year. That's not too bad at all. But the DirecTV was like $5 something.
Well, I think part of the reason probably is because obviously the financial loss. So they're like, screw that.
Right.
Because you're cutting your base in half. So yeah, that makes sense. But you can also get stuff on through your smart TV. You can purchase it back through the NFL Network and stream it through your smart TV if you have one. But anyways, Herbert this year was just the plays he made.
Yeah.
Because
some of the throws he made was just not a rookie.
His team, and to be honest with you, his coach was horrible. His team was like had half
mediocre.
Yeah, half team injured, and he just made some of the most ridiculous. I'm like, dude, where was this?
Right.
I'm like, now the guys probably wouldn't have caught it because he didn't have the great best receiving core in college. But still, he made some of the most ridiculous throws this year. He's just like chucking it 70 yards.
I was going to say long throws too, just bombs.
Well, Tampa Bay game, I think he had like 4 50-plus throws.
Crazy.
Even yesterday against Kansas City, he had like 3 50-yard passes, and 2 of them were dropped.
I traded Eckler when he got hurt in fantasy. I traded him away, and then Herbert started catching fire, and I was like, damn, I should have kept Eckler.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Eckler, who's very good, was out half the year.
Yeah.
He was out half the year. But I was just in comparison because, I mean, Burrow didn't look bad.
Right.
But he's out for how long?
They said they'll probably be ready at the beginning of next season.
Really?
They said they let the swelling go down now. The doctors do. They said they've learned to let the swelling go down because they try to operate on it while it's still swollen a little bit. It'll swell up even more. So they waited like a week or so to do the surgery on his knee. And they said that cuts his recovery timetable in like a third. Like it shaves it off. So the doctors now know how to get guys back in the field quicker and make the recovery time shorter now. And I was like, thank God.
So
we need him.
So they think he'll be ready by September?
Yeah, they think he'll be ready by week 1. And if he's not, I guess we'll play another quarterback for a couple games. But he said he'll be ready for next season. He's already walking.
Who's your backup?
You see him without crutches. Brandon Allen and Ryan Finley, nobody. Couple of nobodies.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
And then obviously Tua was amazing in for Miami.
Wow. He sucks, doesn't he? Why did they just keep Fitzmagic in and let Tua learn? The Dolphins moved the ball when Fitzpatrick was in. They had a rhythm, they had a tempo, and then Tua comes in and it just all stutters and stops.
You don't think those 2-yard passes were good?
Man. And then he had a couple scrambles that were like, okay, he can run a little bit, but nah, he's not very good. And everybody's telling me, man, the Bengals are going to take Burrow, and they should have taken Tua. The Bengals should have taken Tua. Tua's the answer. I was like, no, he's not. He's not.
I don't want to pile on a guy, but man, I don't know if he's going to have much of a career ahead of him.
Right.
I think Miami might. Maybe should. They had Zach Wilson there at the 3rd spot. No,
yeah.
They'll probably draft Sewell or someone like that.
And it's not, any fault of his own, but how many left-handed quarterbacks have been successful in the NFL? I think you had Byron Leftwich, Steve Young, and what was Flutie left-handed or no?
Flutie might have been. Was Leftwich? Would you consider Leftwich successful?
I mean, I remember his name, but I can't think of any left-handed quarterbacks that are good besides Steve Young. Really, I mean, how many left-handed quarterbacks are in the NFL?
Yeah, and Young was an amazing athlete. So
right.
I mean,
and he came onto a team with Jerry Rice and just a loaded defense and everything. And but he was good.
Yeah, he was really good. But I mean, Tua just looks bad in the NFL.
Yeah,
I thought
he doesn't know how to read a defense.
I think he doesn't. He's not taking the ball down the field at all. No. Like he just literally. I mean, that's why he gets benched because he refuses. I mean, in the NFL, you can't just screen pass all day. You'll never score on a consistent basis. Right? You can't. Like in the NFL, like college football. If you're Iowa State or something like that, you can maybe effectively do 15, 16 play drives if you're just really proficient. In the NFL, man, if you'll turn the ball over if you can't get the ball down the field.
And you can't keep going 3 and out, putting your defense out there because you'll lose the game every time in the NFL.
So you can't do super long drives, especially with dink dunk passes. The only way that you'd be able to do long drives is you have a really good running back. But Miami doesn't. They have a great run game. They're a pretty good team, though.
Their defense is way improved.
One of the best defenses, one of the better defenses in the NFL. I mean, he is a decent running back.
And they did a good job with their draft picks, trading and getting all those draft picks.
Yep.
So what they finished? They finished 10-6, and now they get the 4th pick in the draft for the Texans.
3rd.
I mean, Miami's did a solid job in drafting. I wish the Bengals would do the same thing that they did. Acquire draft picks. Oh, they got the 3rd pick. Okay. So
they can get Sewell.
Yeah, they could. And they just drafted Austin Jackson out of USC, which is a target I wanted for the Bengals.
Who's good?
Whose dad played for the Packers.
He did, yeah. And he was good. He was good this year.
Yeah.
He was very good.
There were so many starting linemen that I mocked the Bengals in the offseason that we didn't get that started this year. Solomon Kinley started for the Dolphins. Austin Jackson started. Damian Lewis started for the Seahawks all year. Just some of these centers. Who was the center for LSU?
Didn't the kid for the Bengals? I mean, sorry, the kid from Georgia.
Yeah, Isaiah Wilson. Yeah, I think he was a starter too. Yep. I had him mocked to us too, and some of my mock drafts. Yeah, all these linemen I had mocked to us. We didn't take any of them, and they all end up starters in the league.
Well, yeah, I mean, this year was pretty good because in general, Wirfs was good, Becton was good. Yep. Did Wills play much for the Browns? I didn't check.
He did, and he played really well, but then he got injured a couple weeks ago. And they said how awesome he's been playing all year for him as a rookie. And the guy who was actually the number one, Andrew Thomas, he wasn't that good. He didn't turn out that well. No, he had a very good year. And he was the first. He was the O-line lineman. Yeah. He wasn't the first ranked lineman, but some reason they took him. I remember seeing that in the mock draft. Yeah, he was like the third or fourth lineman? Four. Yeah, something like that. He was a little inconsistent at Georgia. I was kind of surprised they took him one. Yeah. But and then you had but this year it's not a good draft for line. You have Penei Sewell. You do have that kid. Wyatt Davis. You got Slater. You're talking about tackles. I got you. Yeah, tackle. So you have Elijah. What is it? Elijah Vera, whatever, from USC. He's decent. He's an inside guy too. Is he? He's a good inside guy. He's not a good tackle. No. Gotcha. So tackle, you have the kid from Northwestern. You have Samuel Cosmi from Texas. I mocked him to my Bengals recently in the mock draft. Third round. I took Wyatt Davis, Olave, and then Cosmi, and I was like, I can't believe Cosmi's here in this mock draft. No, he won't be third. He'll be gone. Even though I don't think that tells you how weak this draft is, I think he would probably been like the sixth best lineman last draft. Yeah. But this is such a weak draft. And then every team needs tackles. Every team needs offensive linemen. So, actually, maybe someone will take Tucker as a tackle. Right. He has played tackle. I think he's a better interior, but it's a weak draft for offensive line. Yeah. It really is. It is. And you didn't get to see much on tape either because of the COVID. So who do you think for Ohio State goes in the first round? I think Wyatt Davis goes in the first round. Olave probably goes in the first round at the very end. I think he might slip to the second, but he'd probably go in the first round. Myers might be a late first round pick, the center. Yeah, well, I can see that. I can't see too many others first rounders for him. Well, Fields. That's an obvious one, but he might be number two. Yeah. Yeah, he is. But I can't. They don't have any normally the whole first line, defensive line's full of first round projected picks. At Ohio State this year, we don't have any really guaranteed first round picks. Although Tommy Togiai is probably my favorite. He came out of Idaho and comes from like a Samoan family, and they were talking about how he was the best workout, in the weight room. He was the biggest, strongest guy in the weight room a couple seasons ago. And I was like, I'm liking this guy, defensive tackle, best in the weight room. I was like, let's see what he does. And he was an absolute stud against Clemson. If you watch any of his highlights. Now, is he gonna come out? He probably will. Yeah, he's only a junior, but he'll probably come out. And then Haskell Garrett obviously played well, and then Harris. Yeah, Tyreek Smith played well, and all them played well. So I mean, we have a lot of guys that play well in the D line, but I'm not sure if any of them are first round picks. Yeah, Garrett might be. I could see Garrett sleep possibly. I might be at the end, but I don't know. Haskell Garrett, man, that story is just crazy. Trying to break up that domestic dispute. Yeah, and the guy pulls a gun out and shoots him through the face, through both of his cheeks, knocks 4 teeth out. They're like, we don't know if this guy's going to live right away. And then they're like, okay, he's going to live, but we don't know if he'll play football. And then what's he been doing this year? Just dominating everybody. Yeah, he's looked really good. And then your linebacker is Tuff Borland. Is he going to go? Is he going to leave? He's slow. I think he'll leave, but he'll be a late draft pick if any. He's too slow for the NFL. And then who's your other linebackers? Pete Werner. He's decent. He'll be a later draft pick. Somebody will take him just because he's so fast. Are they all seniors? Are they all seniors? I think so. Or Barrett Browning might be a junior. I think Werner and Borland are seniors, though. Is Browning a senior? He's a senior, yeah. Okay. Yeah, so we have 3 senior linebackers, I guess. Now, Browning has not lived up to his – no. He was a 5-star guy coming out of high school. Yeah, and he hasn't lived up to it yet. No, but he maybe if he can run really well at the combine, maybe he gets – he's off. He won't get first round, but possibly – I mean, but Wade was a lock in the first round. Right, and he just lost millions. His draft stock went way down this year. I'd take Sevyn Banks over Wade all day.
Yeah, Wade is
for the outside corner. I think Wade's a great nickel back. He's good at blitzing off that slot, and he's good at tackling the running back out of that slot. But when you put him on the outside those hash marks, he flips his hips and he bails every time. Flips his hips, bails. Flips his hips, bails. It's like you can't do that. You got to play guys at the sticks. You got to keep them in front of the sticks.
Yeah, I don't think Wade will go in the first round because I think he'll probably play nickel in the NFL, and I don't think nickels normally go in the first round.
No, nobody's going to value a nickel cornerback in the first round.
And there's probably still actually Jevon Holland who opted out for Oregon. He's a really good nickel, but I don't think he even goes in the first round. That's just because I think last year you had Xavier McKinley, who was just a stud out of Alabama,
right?
And I don't think he went until like the 41st pick, and he was like one of the most productive nickels in the last 10 years.
Yeah, and my brother was talking about that too. Only a couple of guards are going to go in the first round because people just don't value guards like that. You might get Wyatt Davis come out, in years past, you got like a Quentin Nelson or something like that. But other than that, NFL teams just don't value the guards. Quentin Nelson's like a once-in-a-generation player.
Yeah, Quentin Nelson was he had one of the highest grade by Pro Football Focus. I think the highest grade ever, other than Sewell for an offensive lineman.
All he's done is produce for the Colts. He just pancakes everybody.
Wyatt Davis has been just one of the top-rated recruits coming out of high school. So
right,
you're right. Like unless you're basically just
the best guard in the country, you're not going to get a first-round pick.
Guards, centers, nickelbacks, even safeties.
Yeah, safeties don't usually have one in the first round, maybe at the end, and not even.
Antonio Winfield from Minnesota was just a stud.
I wanted him the Bengals so bad because his dad was a Buckeye. And he played for the Bills. Yeah, I wanted him to the Bengals so bad. I mocked him in all my drafts. I was like, get Winfield. They didn't get him, of course.
It's funny you bring that back. That brings memories to my childhood. Antonio Winfield was on the Ohio State team that played against Charles Woodson in Michigan.
Yeah,
I remember that game, and I liked I was always Ohio State over Michigan. I'm not an Ohio State fan, but I'm a Big Ten fan. So, hold on. Is he still there? Are you still there, Scott? Scott, are you there?
There it is. Yep, there it is.
Lost you for a second. No, but I'm not an Ohio State fan per se, but I always.
But you remember that team?
Well, I always root for the Big Ten, so I root for Ohio State frequently. I'm rooting for if it's Big Ten versus SEC, I always root Big Ten. If it's Big Ten versus ACC, I always root for Big Ten. If it's actually Big Ten versus Pac-12, other than Oregon, I usually root for the Big Ten. I'm Minnesota.
I'm trying to teach my father-in-law that. He's a Team Up North fan. And I'm trying to get my wife to tell him, the Ohio State's representing the Big Ten. He's like, yeah, it's been a bad night. They're going to beat Clemson. And she's like, they're representing the whole conference. Don't you want the Ohio State to win? He's like, no, I don't. Such a hater.
He's a Michigan fan?
Yeah. She was when I first met her and I converted her.
She's a Michigan fan?
Yeah, she was.
That's funny. Now, Michigan, I always cheer for Ohio State over Michigan. But Michigan's probably my least favorite Big Ten team.
The first time I saw Mac Jones was when he smacked Michigan in that bowl game, and I was like, this quarterback's pretty decent for Alabama.
Oh, you mean last year versus when Tua was out?
I think so. Was it they spanked Michigan last year? Was that what it was?
Yeah. I'm telling you what, Mac is pretty good, but I would not draft him as high as he's going to go in the draft. Right. He's playing with the most talented roster in college football. I still think he is an average athlete, average size. He has a good arm. He does not have a elite arm. I would not, because he's probably good. I've seen some people say that he's going to go in the first round. Correct?
Wow. Yeah, I wouldn't take him in the first round.
I would not. For quarterbacks, you got Trevor Lawrence first.
How about the BYU quarterback? What's his name?
Okay, up until I saw Fields play the other night,
you had the BYU guy ahead of him.
Well, because that kid can play.
Yeah,
he can play. He's just a good. For one, he's just a good player. Two, he has a really good arm. He's also very mobile. He's not a tiny guy either.
He can throw on the run.
Really well. And he has a good arm.
Yeah.
And how the NFL is going, but Fields is so physical. How the NFL is going, if you guys have a quarterback that is physical and is athletic, and if he, like this is what they had wrong with Herbert last year. If a guy he's big, he's a big arm, he's athletic, he's a high character guy with a high IQ.
They'll teach him what they want to.
Don't worry about maybe having some some stuff not looking great. They say with Josh Allen. I remember seeing him out of college, and he was a high character guy who's big and athletic with a huge. I'm like, you know what? I probably would. I would have taken him before Mayfield.
Before the injury, there was Carson Wentz. Remember, he was the guy coming out of the small school.
Yeah.
And I was going to wonder this year, are there any guys coming out of small schools that are quarterbacks that are worthy, like a Carson Wentz or a Josh Allen?
Oh, Trey Lance.
Okay.
Trey Lance. Yeah. Oh, Trey Lance he's a once again big, athletic, physical. I don't know about his character.
Where's he come from?
North Dakota State.
Okay, North Dakota State. Yeah. They just churn out. They're just in a division 2 or 4, whatever it is, championship every year.
Yeah, one double. Yeah, FCS.
Yeah.
That's actually when I played. Was FCS ball. But I'm just like there's definite traits because the NFL, everyone's fast, everyone's athletic. Right. And unless you're just Tom Brady or someone that just is like at a mental different level than everyone else, if you're limited physically at all, I just don't see and that's even I do worry a little bit.
You're putting a ceiling on yourself, if you don't have it.
I worry a little bit about Burrow with that.
Yeah. He just seems so smart. He reads defenses and he makes the right throw and the right decision almost every time. He broke a lot of NFL records at the beginning of the year before he got hurt.
He was pretty good.
Most passing completions in a single game. And I forget what records he had, but every week he was setting a new record. And I was like, did he really just set a new record again when the Bengals are losing by 20? And now he was passing it 50 some times a game. We don't want that.
Well, look what eventually happened.
Right. It's never good when your quarterback throws it 50, 60 times a game. I don't care how good he is. You got to run the ball some.
That's why I know it's a weak draft for line, but
we have to go line.
You don't have bad receivers. I mean,
and everyone's talking about we need to draft Jamar Chase in the first round because AJ Green's gone. No, we got Boyd and Higgins. We don't need a receiver. Yeah, we need an O lineman.
Yeah.
I tried to argue to a guy. I said you could have 4 Randy Mosses and a Jerry Rice in the slot, and it doesn't matter if your quarterback's on his back. He can't throw the ball if he's laying on his back.
And isn't the Oklahoma kid your running back?
P. Ryan, yeah. They're talking about? Oh, Mixon. Yeah.
Yeah, Mixon.
He's been hurt half the season, but yeah, Mixon. Okay. He's a superstar running back. Belichick was talking about he's the best running back in the league, and I was like, I don't know if he's the best in the league, but he's good. I'd still take Derrick Henry, but he's good.
Dalvin Cook.
Right. Did you see Henry had like 500 more yards than Cook at the end of the season? I couldn't believe there's that much of a gap.
But that offensive coordinator, that's a guy that needs to get a head coaching job.
Yeah.
What he's done with Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry.
Right. And Vrabel's done a great job, obviously. I love him being a Buckeye. He's a hometown guy.
He is, yep. And Fickle. How about Fickle over in Cincinnati?
I was rooting for them, and the guy was telling me on social media, he was like, man, if Ohio State had Desmond Ridder, he's like, they would have done 4 times more this year than Fields. And I laughed at him. I said, Fields is better than Ridder all day, every day. And then when the Clemson game happened, I tagged him, and I was like, oh, man, if we only had Ridder. And he was like, I was just trying to get some traffic to your page. I was like, yeah, thanks.
No, but Fickle, do you think he heads anywhere in the near future?
I don't know. They were trying to rumor that he was going to go to Michigan, and I was like, no, he's not. I was like, he's not going to go there. He doesn't want to go against his Ohio State roots. He won't do that. So if he goes somewhere, he might go somewhere, but it won't be there.
What job would you think would entice Fickle? I got one. I'm thinking of Raf's.
It's got to be a Power 5.
Oh,
because he's getting crapped on an undefeated season with Cincinnati, not even considered for the playoff. What do you get, ranked 8th? Not even in the playoff consideration. So I would think if he does go somewhere, he's going to have to go Power 5 to where he feels like if I have a team, I can make the playoffs.
He'll go to not just a Power 5. He'll go to a really good school. Notre Dame.
Notre Dame, yeah.
If Ryan Kelly ever left, Luke Fickle would be a good guy at Notre Dame.
Yeah. What about Illinois? We don't take a whole lot of recruits out of Illinois. They don't steal. I mean, we're not in competition with them.
Why would he go to Illinois?
Just to turn them around. I'm thinking Power 5.
They're not. No. Leave that to Brett Bielema. No.
Right.
No.
We battle with recruits for that team up north. We battle with recruits for Penn State, like in this area. But I feel like as you start to get towards like the northwestern Illinois area and whatever, there's not really a battle. You could be in a Power 5 Big Ten, but you don't have to battle for Ohio State. They don't.
The team up north, if Harbaugh leaves, Matt Campbell for Iowa State.
Yeah. Iowa State, my grandpa played there, and I like Iowa State a lot.
They kicked Oregon's butt in the Fiesta Bowl.
Did they? I didn't watch that one.
Well, Oregon turned the ball over 5 times. But still, his team is just very, they don't turn the ball over a lot. They're very effective. They're very efficient. He's a really, really good coach.
Yeah. I liked Fleck last year, but it almost seemed like he was a one-year flash in the pan, whereas Campbell's been more sustained. I like Fleck, though, as a coach.
Fleck's he's more of a CEO kind of culture builder.
Players coach. Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas he's a good recruiter. Whereas I'd say Campbell he's a very good offensive coach.
Yep.
He was an OC before. He's a culture. He's one of the better. Honestly, I've seen what he's done at Iowa State, and I just see how his team looks. Yeah. When I watch Matt Campbell's team, it's they don't turn the ball over very much.
They're physical.
They're physical. They're very efficient. It's just good. They're just really. He doesn't have. They don't have a lot of talent. But I like Luke Fickell. I like his teams. Sometimes you look at a team and they're just very efficient and they do everything. They do the little things. They make the good decisions in special teams. They know when to go for it on 4th down. They know when to do an onside kick, a bloop kick, and it's just that coach. It's just you can see that coach is just almost on a different.
Yeah.
If you gave him a really talented roster, you'd be like, man.
Yeah. Fickell's D-line is always on point just because of his background with the D-line and wrestling. His D-linemen are so good with their hands. And they're so good at getting position and stopping the run. And nobody runs on Fickell's team no matter where he's at. They didn't run on us when he was at Ohio State. They don't run on Cincinnati.
No, Georgia couldn't.
No, they couldn't run.
With all their 5-stars, Georgia was struggled to get anything really effective going on offense. That was a great game. That was one of the best. That was one of the most. That was maybe the most competitive New Year's Six Bowl.
I think if Ritter doesn't give up that fumble there with Oga, whatever his name is, coming around the edge, if that doesn't happen, Cincinnati wins that game.
Well, I think Cincinnati had their best offensive tackle go out in the first half with a targeting call.
What a bad call! Did you see that?
No, it was good. You really? I thought that was fine.
It was on the sideline.
You think that was bad?
I think it should have been a late hit, not a targeting ejection.
He did straight up lower his head. So you thought the Clemson hit was a targeting and that one wasn't?
Yeah. So when I saw the guy hit the guy on the sideline, it seemed like he was starting to finish the hit. And he kind of held back a little bit. He didn't hit him all the way through. And I didn't think he lowered it all the way. And I was like, it's late hit, 15 yards flag. I was like, it was a little bit of a late hit. But then when I saw the Clemson, I was like, that head was straight spear to the ribs. It's that was pretty blatant.
I actually, I'm the opposite. I thought the one hit, because the guy was just literally standing there, and I thought he just came over and plowed him and put his head down. So I actually thought if you're going to go targeting, I agreed with that. I just thought it was a football play, the Clemson one. But yeah, I guess we all have different opinions. But anyways, that guy went out, and then they had trouble stopping the pass rush. They really had, So the second half, they really had trouble. I mean, Georgia gets more. Well, they had the most talented roster on paper going into the season of any team in college football.
Right. Kirby Smart just not going to get it done there. And he picked Fromm over Fields. The Georgia fan base is not going to forgive him for that. I see it all over how long's Fromm been gone? Every time Fields is on TV, you see the Georgia fan base get fired up about Kirby Smart really picked Fromm over this guy.
Well, Kirby Smart had a walk-on starting this year, and he didn't start JT Daniels towards the end of the year.
Yeah.
So he's a different coach. He's a good coordinator. He's a good recruiter, but I don't know. So, anyways, dude, I think we're going to have to wrap this up. But it's been, I'm not going to lie, this is we kind of were all
right.
Normally I'm pretty streamlined, and I'm just talk about Big Ten, or I'll talk about one team. We were talking NFL draft. We talked Cincinnati. We covered a lot of different places. But
another thing I was going to mention about the Ohio State Clemson game.
Yeah.
Ryan Day alluded to before the game that Clemson was stealing signs and that Venables was stealing signs, and he said it always seems He said it always seems like their defense knows what we're going to do and knows what the other team's going to do in all the games. So when they called that timeout in the first quarter, they went to the sideline, and if you saw the camera on Ryan Day, he was smirking and he was saying something to the other coach about like, yeah, that's what I thought. And then the rest of the game, Ohio State huddled up and there was no more signs. And then Clemson didn't look so good when they couldn't see all the signs, did they? And I was like, well, that's an interesting theory right there. And this was from a Clemson message board. A Clemson fan posted on their message board was talking about how after the timeout, Ryan Day was smirking and telling the other coach, yeah, that's what I thought. He's like, and then he's like, if you notice, he's like, Ohio State stopped doing the signs, looking to the sideline, and they started huddling up for all the plays. And the Clemson fan was like, I think there's something to this. And I was like, because you guys steal signs. That's what it is.
You know what? No, I'm not a conspiracy theory guy. I think they're doing, but you know what?
It's crazy.
It was crazy that you guys were scoring at will.
Yeah. As soon as we started huddling up.
Dude, yeah, that actually, you know what? I might go with that one because you literally were running up and down the field.
Yeah, I mean, and that was from a Clemson fan. That wasn't from an Ohio State guy just trying to stir something up. That was a Clemson fan talking about, man, once they stopped looking to the sideline for signs and started huddling up, we couldn't do anything. I was like, I wonder if there's something to that. And I was like, of course there is. You guys are sign stealers. Dude, it's like the Astros beating on those trash cans.
Clemson looked like a 7th grade team trying to guard you guys. I mean,
they did.
It was really bad.
They look small. They look small. Usually, the past couple of years, it's real tough sledding trying to run on them, and our line was just pushing them around. Like you said, they're just freshmen, so they'll probably be sets in a couple of years. But it looked like the varsity versus the JV team.
You literally smashed them. Anyways, dude, I have to have you on before that. Oregon, Ohio State play next year,
right? And the draft. We'll talk draft. Oh, yeah, I know. I got to wait in the combine to see which players rise, which players fall, and get to know some names more, watch some guys run and whatever. And then we'll see where the ratings are and where the rankings are, and then I'll be able to do my mock drafts a little bit better. But right now, I'm just mock drafting for fun. I did some 4-round mocks to the Bengals. We'll see.
4 rounds. How are you going to fit that in there?
My brother's been doing 7 rounds, and I was like, you can't do 7 rounds right now. You don't know who's in it. Yeah, I was like, you don't know where the rankings are.
They don't even know who's going to be in the draft. Yeah.
Yeah. He's trading like crazy. He traded from 5 back to 21. And the 3rd round, he traded back again. 4th round, traded back again. He's trading for 1st-round picks in the next season, all sorts of shit.
Is he a Bengals fan?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He lives in Denver, so he keeps telling me that he's going to raise his son as a Broncos fan because it's humiliating to be a Bengals fan, and he hates Mike Brown. So he's like, I'm going to go out tomorrow. He's like, I'm going to buy my son Broncos gear. He's like, I'm going to put a big donkey. He calls them the donkeys instead of the Broncos. He's like, I'm going to put a big donkey up on the wall. He's like, and we're going to be Broncos fans. He's like, I'm not putting my son through that misery. I was like, I feel that.
Well, the Broncos need to draft him because that quarterback is one of the worst quarterbacks. Drew Lock is.
Yeah, he's bad. He's bad. But at least their history, with the Super Bowls, and they're usually a good team. They got a good fan base.
They better draft a quarterback. That kid's bad.
Yeah, we went to Denver and visited, and we watched the sunset, and the sun was orange and purple over the mountains. Yeah. And I had never given any thought. My brother's like, where do the Broncos colors come from? And I looked up at the sunset, and I was like, no kidding. And I was like, you're right. I was like, those are the Broncos colors.
Yeah, they obviously have had some great teams. But right now, they need to do something about their offense.
For sure.
All right, bro. Well, nice having me on. It's nice coming on to my show. I
got a Buckeye I got to eat now.
What is that?
A Buckeye.
A Buckeye. Oh, you're eating it. I'm gonna go Ohio State 42-35. What do you got?
I like it because they have Alabama's a 7-point favorite right now or 8? What's Vegas have it as?
7 or 8. Yeah.
I'm gonna take Ohio State by 10.
Oh. They're not
I'm confident after that Clemson game.
Hey, I mean, Ohio State is the people, man. I mean, when you have the people, you can be confident. If you don't have the people, if you're Notre Dame, you just gotta hope that miracles happen.
If our rushing attack right now looked the way it did at the beginning of the season, no way I'd pick Ohio State. But the way our rushing attack has gained steam and the way we look right now, I gotta pick Ohio State. Plus, I gotta pick them anyways.
And I would say you can. I think it's more. Well, actually, they got passed on a couple games this year, but I think yes, if you're able to establish a run, then you can open up the pass game. If you're not able to run at all, they have some good DBs, and I think they got guys that can get after the quarterback. So yeah, I agree. Important thing, establish the run, and then take some shots.
Like they did against Clemson to Olave. Couple runs and then a little quick play fake and deep ball.
But you need healthy fields.
Yep, for sure. Fields. Yeah, Alabama has to respect his run game. Even he doesn't have to rush for a lot. They just have to keep a man home to contain him to let the other guys be open.
And you guys do have to be able to get some pressure on Jones. And that is the best offensive line by quite a margin in college football.
I think our weakness is tackling on the perimeters. That first drive on Clemson, that's all they did was that RPO and the throw to the hash marks. They were destroying us because we couldn't tackle on the perimeters because we weren't fast enough. And be able to tackle enough. We need our safety back.
And they got some guys that can fly, obviously.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially if they have Waddle back if he's healthy. So.
Yeah, and Clemson had a couple of receivers that looked pretty jacked and pretty fast themselves. So I was like, well, it's going to be a long game if they keep throwing to the outsides like this. But then Clemson got away from that.
Clemson don't got Alabama guys.
Right. But their receivers were pretty stout and fast too. When they caught the ball, I was like, these dudes are pretty electric. Me and my brother were talking about that with Devontae Smith and Waddle. We're like, if we see a lot of that, that's going to be bad for us.
Yeah, but the thing is, I was impressed by Ohio State against Clemson. You got after Lawrence. He had no time.
Right. He's not used to that at all.
So you guys, if you can be able to do that against Jones, I definitely think Ohio State wins.
Yeah.
But Alabama is significantly better on the offensive line. So I think it's going to be a little more difficult to get after Jones than that kind of.
Justin Hilliard was a great shine of the past few weeks for Ohio State. He's been great. He was granted a 6th year of eligibility because of injuries. He's a 6th year senior, number 47.
Well, he could be 7th. He could come in next year.
Yeah, because of COVID, right? He could be a 7th year senior. That'd be the first I've ever heard of.
No,
but he's been playing great the past 2 games. They showed him on Twitter some of his highlights. And on those bubble screens and some of those plays where the receiver's trying to get to him, he slips that receiver and is in the backfield for the tackle. Like, nobody's blocking him. And I was like, that's what we need. Because you're going to need that against Alabama. When they throw those little bubble screens at Devontae Smith and stuff, you're going to need to get underneath those blocks and make that tackle, or otherwise it's going to be a long night.
Yeah, well, that 6th year no, actually, Oregon has a guy that's coming back for a 7th year.
Does he? Yeah. I've never heard that before.
No, I know. It's going to happen this year.
That's crazy.
They have a PhD.
That's wild. And it's going to be in like basket weaving too, because they're on the football team. What'd you get your PhD in? Basket weaving. I get basket weaving from Katzenmoyer. Katzenmoyer took a basket weaving class his senior year at Ohio State, and I thought it was the funniest thing.
Andy Katzenmoyer, that's a blast in the past.
The big cat.
Oh man, what's he doing now?
Maybe weaving baskets. I don't know. He didn't make it in the NFL very long, did he?
He got kicked out, didn't he?
He would play for the Patriots for a little bit, and I think he got a neck injury or something like that and didn't play anymore.
Did he have some off-field issues going on?
Probably. He was a wild guy.
Yeah.
He was a wild guy.
Bosa, I always thought I was worried a little bit about Joey Bosa coming out, but he seems to have gotten his.
You could tell he plays with a chip on his shoulder. He's always talking trash and trying to hurt somebody in the game. I was like, oh man, that guy's gonna have something bad happen. But yeah, you're right. He's been able to contain himself and been pretty good.
He's a stud. And I love Nick too, but he had the ACL injury the first game of the season. So
yeah, they had what 4 out of the last 5 years, and Ohio State players been the defensive player of the year, the rookie of the year.
Yep, because Bosa won it, right?
And I think this year it's Chase Young, right?
Chase Young, and then Joey Bosa.
Both Bosa's won it. I think Denzel Ward maybe was the other one. I can't remember who the other one was.
Was it who's the other? Was it Marcus Lattimore?
Lattimore might have been Marshawn Lattimore.
Yeah,
from the Saints. Yeah, they said Marshawn. 4 of the last 5 years have been Buckeyes though, and I was like, I didn't know that stat. That's surprising. I mean, that didn't surprise me too much, but I was like, I didn't know that. Something I can rep now as a Buckeye fan.
Dude, you guys can rep quite a bit. You have one of the best programs. So I did. Good luck in the game, and we'll come back on there. We'll talk about during draft season. We'll get some draft talk going on.
Oh yeah, sounds good, man.
All right, bro. Have a good night, man.
Take it easy.